Have you ever woken up feeling just completely drained, even after what was supposed to be a full 8 hours? Well, the reason might have nothing to do with how long you slept, but everything to do with what your brain was forced to focus on. Because here's the thing. Sleep isn't rest. It's a critical, demanding job your brain has to pull off every single night.
So that brings us to the real question we're going to dig into today. What if your body, the very thing that's supposed to be resting, is actually interrupting or even sabotaging your brain's most important work? Let's unpack what's really happening after you turn out the lights.
All right, to really get this, we've got to shift how we think about sleep. I want you to imagine your brain as the supervisor of a super important night shift with a long checklist of critical tasks that absolutely must get done before the sun comes up.
That's right. Sleep is anything but a passive state. It is an incredibly active, busy time. Your nervous system is firing on all cylinders, running all these programs that regenerate your cells, restore your energy, and literally wash your brain clean of toxic gunk. Seriously, without this nightly cleanup crew, our health would just fall apart.
But how does your brain even clock in for this night shift? I mean, how do you go from being wide awake to being out cold? Well, it all comes down to this really elegant biological mechanism that works pretty much like a light switch. Scientists actually call it the sleep-wake flip-flop switch. It's this incredible network of neurons that makes a super clean, decisive transition between being awake and being asleep. And it's designed that way for a reason, so you're not stuck in some miserable, groggy middle ground. You're either on or you're off, period. And here's basically how that switch works. It's kind of like a seesaw. On one side, you have your arousal systems, and they're pumping out chemicals to keep you alert and focused. On the other side, you've got this group of neurons called the VLPO, and they release these chill-out chemicals, like GABA. When the VLPO gets active enough, it basically slams down its side of the seesaw, shutting down the arousal systems, and flip, the switch is thrown, and you're on your way to sleep.
So, what controls the timing of that switch? That's the job of the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN for short. Just think of it as your brain's master clock. It's the boss. It takes in light signals from your eyes to keep your whole body on a 24-hour rhythm, and it's the SCN that tells the VLPO when it's time to start pumping out those sleepy chemicals.
Okay, so we've got the how. We know how the switch works. But now for the really important part. Why is this nightly shutdown so absolutely essential for the brain itself? Well, the answer is all about the deep maintenance work that can only happen after the lights go out. So once that switch is flipped and you're in deep, non-REM sleep, what is your brain actually up to? It's definitely not just idling. No, it's performing some of the most complex and important maintenance imaginable on its own wiring.
Now, this is explained by this really fascinating theory, and it's a bit of a mouthful, called the synaptic homeostasis hypothesis. But don't worry about the big name. The core idea is super simple. The main job of sleep is to bring your brain's network back into balance after a long, hard day of being awake.
Think about it this way. Everything you learn, every conversation you have, everything you see, it strengthens the connections, the synapses between your brain cells. As the day goes on, it's like the volume on the whole network just keeps getting turned up and up and up. It gets louder, and it takes a ton of energy to run. Then, when you're in that deep sleep, your brain starts this incredible process called network renormalization. It's like a master librarian tidying up the shelves overnight. It smartly weakens some connections and prunes back others, essentially turning the overall volume way down. This brilliant process resets the whole system, which is what makes it possible for you to learn new things the next day.
But here is the absolute crux of the issue. This delicate, incredibly complex work of resetting your brain requires deep, uninterrupted concentration. And that brings us to the hidden saboteur, the constant, loud whispers coming from our own bodies that are creating distractions all night long. And this is the key to everything. You might be asleep, but your nervous system, it's always on duty. It's a 24/7 security guard, constantly monitoring your body and your environment, always on the lookout for problems. It never, ever clocks out.
So when scientists break down all the things that can mess up our sleep, they find a whole range of culprits. As you can see here, you've got things like stress and anxiety, which have a decent impact. Then you've got environmental factors, noise, light, the room being too hot. Those also play a role. But if you look closely, one of these categories has a ridiculously oversized impact, accounting for almost all of the problem.
And that number is a jaw-dropping 80%. Let that sink in. The vast, overwhelming majority of negative influence on our sleep quality comes from immediate physical factors.
We are talking about things like pressure points digging into your body and your posture being all twisted while you're just lying there in bed.
The source material actually gives these annoying interruptions a name: neuronal distractors. So what is that? A neuronal distractor is any physical signal that your always-on nervous system picks up on during sleep. Every one of these signals forces your brain to divert precious energy away from its main job of restoration to go, "Hey, what was that?"
And look, these aren't some abstract medical concepts. This is stuff we all feel. You know that pain in your shoulder from being smashed into the mattress? Or your neck being cranked at a weird angle on your pillow? What about your hand going numb or getting too hot? Yep, each and every one of those is a neuronal distractor sending a little stress signal to your brain, pulling its attention away from that critical reset work.
So, this all leads us to a huge takeaway. The solution isn't just a new pillow or a different mattress. It requires a complete mental shift in how we approach sleep. It's time to stop thinking of sleep as passive rest and start treating it like the vital activity it really is.
So here's the new paradigm. Sleep is an activity. And just like any important activity, whether you're training for a marathon or preparing for a big presentation, doing it well requires the right strategy and the right tools. Your job isn't to just be a passive passenger while sleep happens to you. It's to be an active operator with a mission to accomplish every night. This framework gives us 4 crystal-clear objectives for that nightly mission. Number 1, redistribute your body pressure. You've got to get rid of those hot spots that are screaming at your brain. Number 2, align your posture, keeping your spine and joints in a nice, neutral, relaxed position. 3, control your environment, temperature, light, sound. And finally, number 4, minimize tissue damage by reducing the physical stress on your body. The whole point is to create an environment so free of distractions that your brain can finally get its work done in peace. Which really leaves us with one last massive question to think about. I want you to consider your own experience last night. Was your bed a tool that actually helped your brain perform its vital work? Was it an ideal environment for restoration? Or was it the primary source of distraction, forcing your brain to play defense against physical problems instead of doing its most important job? The answer just might change the way you sleep forever.